Okay, welcome back to Guns Up Review. Today we're coming to you from the shop, and we're going to show you how we mount our deer horns when we're through our antlers, and how you go from this to this. So come right back and we'll show you how we do it. Okay, so I'm here with Dad, the master craftsman, who has been mounting our antlers for 40 years. And we do them pretty much the same way every time. And so I thought I'd get Dad to show us how you do it.
All right. First step, of course, is kill a deer. When you get him skinned, then you're going to cut the cap off, the skull cap off. Take the skin off like we've already done here. And then there's several ways to treat it from here. One way, of course, is just hang it up and let it dry for 6 or 8 months. Then it's ready to go. The other way is to put it in a bucket of water for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and then all the meat and stuff, you can just pull it off. And the third way, the way I like to do it, because it doesn't stink so bad and it takes a little longer, but it's still the best way to do it, is put it in 20 mule team borax, just cover it up with 20 mule team borax, and let it sit for a couple of weeks. It will absorb all the moisture out of it, take all the stink out, and dry the meat up. And then you
get something like this,
yeah,
huh?
You get to this point then, when it's dry, it's clean, it doesn't stink, and it's ready to go. So when you get to this point, the next thing you have to do is you have to cut a little base out, something you want to mount the horns on. This one's kind of rickety. We're going to cut another one here in a minute.
What do we use? Half inch, quarter inch?
This is like 1/4 inch plywood. You can use 3/8 or something like that, but I like the little thinner base because I don't like it sticking up in the air real high when it's on the base.
And there's a couple of different ways to mount this, and I'll show you an example of both. One is a wall mount. So here's a wall mount, and the other is a pedestal mount, which is kind of the way we prefer to do it now, is do pedestal mounts. And here's a pedestal mount, what they look like. And so you can make a choice which way you do it. And what he's saying is either way you do this, you have to be careful about how your horns or your antlers are oriented, right? Because if you're on the wall, you can kick it back a little farther.
Yeah, there's some decisions you need to make before you start. How you want the antlers to do. Do you want them sitting on a table somewhere where you can move them around, which is what I've gotten over the last few years, the way I really like to do it, because my wife doesn't like me putting holes in the wall, and I can move them around and store them. And you can use all kind of bases. Over here are some examples, but that's a big piece of cedar. There's some wood, and you can just kind of use your own imagination as you go along.
And we just picked this up out hunting, so that, be looking for things that you can put from your environment with your antlers.
Yeah, they're kind of indigenous to where you are. That's a big word, I thought. Okay, once you get to this point, and you get your little 1/4 inch plywood base cut out, you're gonna put it around there, and then you're gonna have to go to your bandsaw or sander or hacksaw, whatever you have, and just trim around where it fits nicely on thing. Because when you put and we're gonna use Plaster of Paris to make our mold with. When you put it on there, you want it where it's nice and smooth, and you can mold it right to the edge. Okay. So now we need to get. I guess the next thing we need to do is get our base cut out.
Yeah. So we'll show you the steps to do everything he just described one at a time. And let's start with taking that one, which I just peeled, yeah, and we'll put it in the borax and show you what that looks like. So the first thing we're going to have to do is remove this hide here from the skull cap. And really we're going to try and get as much of the meat and the junk on here that you don't want on here. We just want bone only off of there. So the next step is I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to peel this and get it right below the burr all the way around both these antlers, and get everything I can off of this. So here we go.
Go. Okay, here the step we talked about where we're going to put it in the borax. I already got one that's been soaking for a week or so. Here's one we talked about that we just skinned out today. So we're gonna put him down in there, and we're gonna cover him up with the borax also. This stuff is readily available at the grocery store. It's cheap, removes stains, neutralizes odors, and all that good stuff. So just put it in there, make sure you get some in the back of the skull cap, and set them in there, and in a week or so you're ready to go. So I don't want to say right quick, you know, these are not monster deer, but they mean the same thing to you, they mean to us. Each one of these has a story. We kill these in the same weekend. This is a memory that we shared we'll never forget. So I just like to mount them, keep them. I've got tons of them on the wall over there that we've had for years. But anyway, it's just a fun thing to do and a good way to preserve your memories. Go ahead. Okay, here's the step we talked about. We're gonna trim this down where it fits on our base. We're gonna trim these little eye guards off a little bit on the bandsaw and try to get him ready to start mounting. So this gets kind of noisy, and if you have a bandsaw, you may be really careful because these things will take your finger off. So be careful. Alright, so now we got her trimmed up. We ought to be able to mount that on our little board however we want it to mount, and it'll be pretty easy from this point. Alright, we've got our horns trimmed. We're going to try to cut us a little base plate out here to something to mold the plaster of Paris around the skull cap here. So what I'm going to do is set it up, just take a pencil and just rough draw it in the way I want it to look when I get through. So just kind of freehand it. And when I get through, after I got it trimmed on, then I'll come back and just kind of freehand. Because it really doesn't matter, because I'm going to mold all this with plaster of Paris when I get through and make it sit on there just right. Okay? I'm going to go back to the bandsaw and I'm going to cut this out. We got a nice round base plate, and all we gotta do now is figure out how to fasten it to it. Okay, what we've done, we've cut our little base out of 1/4-inch plywood, and we put a little hex head, what do you call these things? Sheet metal screw in there. I mean, sheetrock screw to kind of prop it up on. So when we set the rack up on, we can get it to sit just like we want it to. And we got that done. And then we drilled a hole. We drilled a hole in the skull plate. We drilled a hole through our base mount. We're going to set it on there, and we're going to use this little, pardon me, but sex bolt. You can buy these at Lowe's. They're actually called a threaded post, but that's what they are. And what we're going to do, we're going to put the female part through the back. And we're going to put our screw through our skull base, and we're going to mate them up here, hopefully. Okay, take our screwdriver, tighten it down. Gonna turn it around. Gives us the way we want it on there. Finish tightening it up. Now we got the base mounted, we got it screwed on, and everything is good. This is kind of the way it looks. So now there are a couple of different ways you can do this. You can use, we got some air dry clay, which works, but I really don't like it. It crumbles and flakes after a while. The old standby favorite I like is good old Plaster of Paris. It's easy to use, easy to mix, and easy to work with. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to mix it up, then we're going to coat it all around this base and smooth it out so it'll accept our cloth and decorations we're going to put on it. Okay? All right, we're ready for our next step. We're going to get our Plaster of Paris put on our mount here that we're doing. So this is just regular Plaster of Paris. You can buy at any hobby store, Lowe's, wherever. Got the instructions on it. It's easy to mix up. This is kind of a hit and miss. Put a little water in it and stir it. You're trying to get it to like the consistency of maybe pancake batter or something like that. It goes pretty quick, so once you get it mixed up, put on there, you need to be working on it because it will set up in a hurry. You want to have a consistency so that it'll stick and not run off on your table. Okay, we're about ready. Got our stuff mixed up. Here's our mount. Out of the way so you can see. So now we're just going to start globbing this stuff on there. Don't worry about getting any extra or getting a little bit on the horns themselves or the antlers themselves, because a little water it'll wipe right off. I've got it kind of on there the way I think it should look. Then I just like to take my fingers and put a little water on it and just start smoothing it down with your fingers. And it'll smooth it out just like glass. All right, that's pretty close. That's gonna be pretty. Good. And we get this stage, we're just gonna set it where it's kind of the way we think it's gonna look. Do one final little slick, and then we're just gonna let it dry. It'll dry pretty quickly. It'll dry within an hour. And then of course when you get through, you're done, you can come back with your putty knife and whatever, and get these little places where you touched it and get those cleaned up. So, all right, we put our Plaster of Paris on there. We got it pretty smoothed down. Been an hour or so now, and it's set up pretty good. So the next step, we're going to put our cloth on. This is a pretty thick, sort of foam back material that has some stretch and play to it. The thicker the material is, the better it is. It'll kind of hide any little bumps or anything that you have from showing, because you want it to be smooth when you get on there. And this operation, this is the best way I found to do it, is just, we'll tack it to the front, pull it over and tack it to the back, and then we'll just work it on. So this will take a little bit, but here we go. All right, we've got our cloth on there now. We got it all stapled down. This is kind of an operation that you have to, every time you do it, you find out you do it a little bit different. Maybe you have a better way to do it. If you do, I'm glad. I'd love to see it sometime. But like I say, because everyone's a different shape, you just kind of have to keep working it around on there. No amount of instruction I could give you would tell you exactly how you need to do it, but that's how you need to get the cloth on there. I got a little wrinkle right there, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to put some trim on it. That's going to cover that up in my next phase, so it'll take out any wrinkles we got or anything like that. So that's kind of where we are now. We need to decide on our base plate that we're going to set this on. Okay, well, we got our nice base plate cut out. We've got a little polyurethane on it. We're letting it dry. So we're going to go ahead and put a trim around the base of our antlers here. So I use this decorative trim, it's called. You get it at Hobby Lobby or any hobby stores. It's relatively cheap, it's kind of pretty, and covers up a lot of mistakes. And so we put this on just with simple, just hot glue. So here we go. Okay, so we got our decorative trim around now, and looks pretty nice. Got one little wrinkle, but that's okay. We'll settle that in. We're about ready to mount our base plate on there now. Okay, we're ready to put this on our base plate. We got a little piece of wood here that had a natural edge on each side. We just kind of rounded it off and pre-drilled a hole in the middle. Put us it's just actually a sheetrock screw. Now we're gonna mount the side exactly how we want it to sit. Like so. Kind of center it up. We should be able to just hold it and bring it home, we hope. All we need to do is finish this off. We're going to put some more decorative trim around the bottom, kind of dress it up a little bit. So here we go. Okay, so there you have it. Pretty simple. We'll let it dry, and we'll probably go back and do a little more touch up on some of the little white spots, but basically that's it. Each time I do one of these, it turns out different, and that's kind of part of the fun of it, is just being creative and figuring out what you can do. I've tried using little pieces of cactus behind them and grass and whatever you can find. Just be creative and have fun with it.
Okay, so I hope you all maybe learned something today. This is the way we do it. What do you say to people that say, that's not gonna last?
We'll show you some examples here at the end. Some we did in the late 70s, 1977, 70, and they're still hanging on the wall in there. Each one of them is different. They will last forever, as far as I know right now anyway. So just don't be afraid to play with it. Like I say, be creative. Pick out something different every time. You can tilt them, the horns up or down. You can mount them on the wall. Just a lot of fun to play with.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on Guns Up Review.